Williamson County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. It's January 10th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson,
Present.
Jim Marlowe,
Present.
Jim Reeser.
Present.
Present. I'd like to ask everybody at this time to stand. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Marlowe, would you lead us in prayer?
Thank you. Lord, we come to you this day and thanking you for the beautiful day that you've given us, Lord. Lord, we ask your blessings upon this meeting as we do the county's business. Lord, we ask that you also bless all the servicemen throughout the world that are standing ready to defend this country. Lord, please protect everyone that's here and those that couldn't be here. We pray all this through Jesus' name.
Item number 1 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions about the consent agenda or comments? A motion to accept.
Move to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please. Yes.
Jim Marlowe,
Yay.
Jim Reeser.
Yay.
We've changed the meeting layout. I don't know if this will be a permanent meeting layout or not, but for today, our next item on the agenda is going to be public comment. And Mr. Forsyth?
Yes.
Yes, would you like to address us?
I sure would.
We have a yellow X on the.
Wheel of Fortune?
It is Wheel of Fortune, yes, and you can buy it out.
I'm not here to complain.
Sure.
You guys probably don't run into this. The citizens of Williamson County is running into it a lot. When I bought my house over there on Lake Egypt Shores, Lake of Egypt, the closing for me was delayed because the owner, who had not been down here at all, his son come down and mowed the grass, and he come down, found out the neighbor built a garage on one of his lots. I bought the 2 lots on top and one on the water. And he got down, he found out that the neighbor had built a 3-car garage, 18 inches of it was on his property. He told me to knock it down to a 2-car or buy half of the lot. So I kind of assumed when he did that we knew where the property lines were at. I hate to make a story out of this, but anyway, we went through the closing on it. After the closing, I started coming down here every 2 weeks, but telling me down here permanently, but came down every 2 weeks, and there was a stake out there, and every time I come down the mow, it was gone. Well, Mr. English had walked me around the property and showed me these stakes and said, that's your property, and you go from there to the water there, that's where you mow. So anyway, I did. I come down the second time, the stake is gone. The hole's there, but the stake had a red paint on the top. I got done mowing and I looked over in the woods and the stake is in the woods. Well, at that time we had one tree down, the other one was dead. So we cut them up and stacked them, and I didn't want to put it in the woods because of getting wet and staying. I wanted them in the sun when they dry out. Next time we come down, the stake is gone again and my wood pile burned. Nobody knew what happened to it. It's one of those immaculate conception things. So anyway, life was miserable there for about a year. He kept saying that I was on his property and it was 18 inches over. I said, fine, I'll move over, but why is the stake there? Yeah. So anyway, he started mowing way over on mine. And I finally said, that's it. I went and got a survey and found out that he was 3 feet over my property. Well, you can imagine what happened then. An outsider coming in to a full-time resident, and all hell broke loose. And every time I went outside, he was screaming on the balcony at me for Chicago trash. But I'm not from Chicago, I'm from Shorewood. The church been there for 31 years, come down here for peace and quiet, and all hell breaks loose. And it's part of me because it's either black or white with me. It's been that way my whole life. And anyway, we got into it. And finally, I surveyed it, found out he was 3 feet, and then all hell broke loose. He pulled that stake out. So I called the surveyor, asked him if he would come back and put that, because it's a 5/8 inch rod. Anyway, he come back and they left a note, and they're saying it's a federal offense to pull out a survey stake, and he would prosecute him under federal law, and he goes to jail for it. That stopped it, but it didn't stop him from hating my guns. 2 years later, they could be road straightened out, and I found out that the dirt was for free. All you had to do was pay for the hauling. So I, on the other side of my lot, I had a hill like this. Couldn't get grass to grow on it. Couldn't mow it. You'd slide right into the water. So I hired a guy to come in. He filled it, had a cap, packed it. But before I did that, I surveyed it. And guess what? The neighbor on the other side, who had a stake there, found out that he was way over 3 feet into my property. So when I came down, his shed was moved off of my property. And again, another enemy. Haven't talked to him for 8 years. He finally died. The other guy on the other side, he moved out. So now it's peace again. But because of the survey, and you know, I guess what I'll show you here, if you would, the circle. My neighbor across the pond from me, I'm in the Bearden property. My neighbor here, you'll see, and you can tell, first of all, you're going to say that those lines you have can be off, you know, they're not, well, in fact, this one here for fact is right on the money. Charles is a contractor from Chicago, and he was having a little bit of problem with one of the neighbors, no big deal, but he didn't want any problems. He didn't want to be on somebody else's property. So he goes and has a survey. Found it. Look at that one. Look where that line goes.
Yeah, right to the house.
Right through the guy's neighbor's house. The next one is a trailer guy moved in on an empty lot over there, and you see where that trailer's at.
Yeah.
I can't confirm that, but I can confirm that Charles had paid $700 to have that property surveyed, and found out that the guy's house next door is on his property. A house, not a garage, a house.
It's halfway in. He may have both sides.
We also have people over on South Egypt Shore in our subdivision. He went out and put pylons in the road and built a carport out. And I asked him, I said, why are you on the street? He said, well, I had to get my car in here. He had no room, so he went and built a carport out. It's out in the street on Egypt Shore South. No survey, no nothing. He needed to cover his car, so that's where it went. Okay, and anyway, I'm talking about surveying. That's all I'm doing. We got another case down there now where a guy built a garage over on another guy's property, and they're fighting. You know, because of survey, I had years of hell with these two neighbors, and I did nothing about it. I mean, it wasn't my fault. So anyway, enough of that.
So, Mr. Forsett, you're requesting that we add a requirement.
I'm saying if you take a look into it, I mean, I'm just one guy, and I had a lot of problems. Charles came down from Chicago, and he finds out that the guy next door, his house is on his property. Well, granted, it's easy, just sell him a piece of it and it's over with, you know, but it's caused a lot of grief. And people know that that guy with the carport, he knows he's wrong. Who's going to stop him? That's his attitude. He said, then he sold, so now the new owner said, it was here when I bought it. So I'm just saying, up in Will County, you can't sell a piece of property without being surveyed. You know, if English hadn't come down and noticed that maybe that thing was over, I'd be dealing with it. I lost half of that lot because of that. You know. Okay. Just suggesting that you guys look at it. I don't know, cost-wise or whatever, I don't know, but it sure is causing a lot of grief out there, and you people don't even hear about it because it's all settled right there in the subdivision or with lawyers. The other thing is, You know that you can build anything over here and nobody's got any say-so on it? We have a house here on south or northeastern shores. I just want to show you. They poured this foundation for this house. The guys from St. Louis. The rest of the contractors come in. Here's more pictures here. Look at this.
You, subsurface eroded away from the renovation.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is they put up a 6-inch wall for up in Will County. It has to be 8 inches on the garage, 12 inches on the house because of the weight and the structure. And when you build it over, I don't know how many feet, it has to go 12 inches. When I built my home up there, they changed the estimate on it because the law said you had to have 12 inches on the slope. Why? Because you fill that thing up with gravel. With most of the wall exposed. What happened here is the guy hires a contractor here. They come in. Not only did he pour nothing but 6-inch walls, but the garage wall, but the wall that goes to the house, boom, caved in. I mean, blew out completely. Then we got 6 inches of rain. And it went into this pool and blew out underneath the wall. You'll notice on here, there is no footing on that garage wall.
Yeah.
Would you like to buy a home that has no footing under the garage? I mean, you know what they did with this? I took pictures. There's nothing I could do with it. I pictured it because I thought maybe the lawyers were going to get involved in this sooner or later, and they did. They poured that garage with no footings under it. That's 10 feet up in the air. No footings underneath the garage part. It blew off both sides. What do you think they did? They bought a truck in with large rock and built it. And then they covered it up with the stone to fill it up so they could get a floor up there. Nobody can, it's happening all the time. There's a guy over here on the South Shore that had a small home. He sold it. Another guy comes in from Chicago, wants to put an addition on it. The same, almost as big as the original home. And what happens? He decides he don't want to insulate it because he's not going to be here in the wintertime. So this young couple buys it. The first electric bill they got was $849. He's going around, what the hell? You guys all paying this? No. I can tell you why. There's no insulation in that half of that house. You had to tear it all out, put insulation in. Nobody in charge.
So you're absolutely right. There's no zoning.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's anything to be done, but you can't keep going like this. There's homes being built like crazy. I mean, we've got 3 or 4 right in our subdivision alone being built right now. I mean, it's all over. There's pole barns going up on Sulphur Springs Road, and nobody's in charge. How do you like to buy a house and find out that the guy took out a fuse box, put a circuit breaker box in? The old black wax wiring is still in the house.
He didn't change any.
It sure wouldn't look good to you. Oh, he's got breaker box. Wiring's up to date. The only problem is he kept blowing breakers. They looked in there and found out all the old, I mean, this stuff is from the 20s or 30s maybe. Yeah, but anyway, I'm bringing this up because this is about the only time I'm probably going to bother you people, but as far as the zoning goes and as far as the building, there's nothing out there. You can do whatever you damn want, and it's up to the people that buy it, are the ones that get screwed. So anyway, the other thing I want to bring up, since I'm here, 2 years ago at Lake of Egypt Road and Market Street, there's a sign saying, "Welcome to the lake." Beautiful sign. Weeds growing. You know why the weeds are growing? There's signs in there all over the place. I came out of Tripoli one day, and there's this Easter, and I come out, and here's a couple parked there, and his wife and 3 daughters were working their way through the weeds to get up to the sign because he wanted to take a picture of it to send to his mom. The girls are crying. There was a lovely picture. The little girl, they had the weeds grabbing on their legs and that. Mom was trying to console them to get a decent picture. I went up there and said, here, let me take the picture. So the dad went up there. They finally got the kids to quit crying. I got a picture of them. It happened again a week later. Except this was a newlywed that bought, and he had his wife up there. And I said, you want to be in it? So anyway, that afternoon, I went home, got my trailer, and picked up all the wood, dead trees around there, and I took the signs. I didn't take them. I picked them up and replanted them behind our sign. I'm not going to steal signs, but I did. And I put them down so that maybe the grass wouldn't grow up so bad around it. Anyway, I got home. The size of those two guys together came up to my house, beat my door down in a big dually, and told me that if I ever touched this sign again, I'd be buried up there with it. I know, it wasn't my place, but in Shorewood, I started up a beautification committee. We planted 200 and some trees around the village. You know, and when they redid 59, 52, they were going to blacktop all the islands. We talked them into letting us put plants in there. So it wasn't like a concrete jungle. I get down here, you know, I tried to do that. County could not mow the other corner because I was a little scared to go take all those signs out. But the guy mowing, they went around them because they didn't want to hurt him.
What type of signs are there?
They're just,
That's it. I think it's at the corner of Market Street and Lake Road. Any need stuff for market? Yeah, advertisements, political signs during the political season.
they're not even political. They're just business signs all over the place, and you can't mow them when they're there. And we had the same problem right here, but whoever was picking up the litter, which they do on Cobb Hill, Sulphur Springs Road, they went and took the signs down. There was 13 or 17 of them there.
Yeah.
The reason I bring this up is this is changing the subject a little bit. You talk about zoning and having somebody in charge. That's my car right here. I'm going to turn right or left off of Cobb onto Sulphur Springs Road. Do you know how many times I've almost been hit?
Oh, yeah.
You can't see them coming. Do you know that building is right against Sulphur Springs?
Right up against the road. Yeah, there's no setback.
Yeah, and then not only that, but they put a sign even closer in the ditch part.
Right, inside that fence, it's hanging on that fence.
No, it's outside the fence. It's got to be on public right of way. But there's nobody in charge. They put up signs all over the place. By the way, I took a picture in my car and out of it, just to show you what we have to put up with out there. And, you know, I guess we'll have to, but I'm bringing it up to you guys' attention that we'll do something about it. Maybe it's time to grow up and do something about this stuff. One of these days, you guys might want to buy out there at the lake and.
Well, my in-laws have a place on Tracy Lane for years. I've been down it many times.
Well, good luck turning on
Yeah.
Sulphur Springs Road because you can't see it coming. I almost took out a white car the other day. All I could see was her eyes like this big. It wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
You can't see each other coming around that corner. See, I don't understand. You got even the city here, they allow Dollar General to put a building right up against the sidewalk. What happens if you guys decide to grow a little bit, need that for extra lanes through there?
Well, I do know that the highway department has easement, the county does have some easement. But, you know,
I don't know if we got setback, but
It don't matter. Common sense, even Dollar General.
But what I was gonna tell you was I contacted Travis and he, you know, unfortunately he can't make it today, but he will get in touch with you on this and that'd be something that you might be able to give a little more direction. Alex, do you have anything you want to say about this?
I mean, the county doesn't own most of our roads. They're all prescriptive easements. So
Okay,
that's part of the problem, I would imagine. It's all easement by prescription. Well, 80% of the roads at this point is a statistic I heard. So that's part of the problem there. As far as the zoning, I think that's kind of been a third rail issue as far as previous commissions. Everybody wants to regulate what's going on in somebody else's backyard, but nobody wants regulated what's going on in my backyard. So not a whole lot.
What about the survey?
You know,
What's your view on requiring a survey?
I've talked to other assessors that in counties that do require that. They don't really gain anything off of it as far as the county goes. Like you said, it just brings to light issues as far as the landowners go. I think it would be a problem for some landowners, especially here in Williams County. Most surveyors that I've talked to here recently, they're probably 3 months behind on their plats. So most closings are 60-day closings anymore, from what I've heard. I haven't closed on anything in a long time. So you gotta have a plat to close, you can't. So that's gonna affect your interest rate at that point.
I'm saying, these people bought that corner lot and they put those buildings right up to the sidewalk thing. You know, and now the sign's sitting out in the so-called ditch. And then they put a fence around it, that's fine, but you can't, you think that there'd be setbacks. I mean, in Will County, you can't put a building right next to a road like that, there's no way, no.
So
There's always a setback. Even the pipeline up here, they got 20 feet on each side of their pipeline, and then they got 20 feet of setbacks off of that. That's 40 feet on each side of that pipeline that they got. You can't build on it. And they come out there and they mark it. If they see any activity, they come out there and mark it to make sure that people know that you can't. We just had a guy, the association building has never had people living in it. This guy bought it, he's putting an addition on it. And they, as soon as they seen the addition, they were out there with flags and making sure that he can't go past those flags. And that's 40 feet from where the pipeline is.
Oh, I do know that we had an issue a while back, where a group approached the board a couple years ago from the Lake Beach area, and they would put signs promoting the Lake Beach area, and they were wanting permission to put it on the highways, our county east, county highway department.
Now, there's a big storage building right now, so blocking Bisville, they have 2 lanes of road.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably best we let Travis take a look at this, you know, let him get in touch with you. And maybe he might be able to shed a little more light. In the meantime, I think, probably go ahead and toss around the idea of, the surveys. I mean, we need to discuss that with, our attorneys and stuff and see.
We need to go through all unintended consequences of that.
Yeah.
I know it's,
So there's a lot of
It's kind of
discussion
work,
to be had about that.
Yeah.
I'm not here to do that, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm talking about what people are talking about out there, I'm bringing it here.
Well, no, and there's not a week that goes by, there's somebody, that's what we're talking about, zoning. Zoning has always been, since I've been here, it's always been a concern.
Yeah, and like I said, how would you like to buy that one house with the, no footing underneath the garage walls?
Well, and see, so zoning might cover building, that once again, the county then has to employ building inspectors.
I know, and like I said, I'm not here to complain.
Enforcement.
You know, unlike Will County, we do have a limited tax base here.
The only thing other than I'm gonna bring up is, I would ask the road commissioner, I know that they go out and spray a little. If he would possibly, please, in front of King Tut's, it's been an eyesore. We got people out there picking up garbage on Lake of Egypt Road, Cobb Hill, and Sulphur Springs Road. And yet, when you come into our area, the first thing you see is those ditches with rocks. There's trees growing that big around.
That'd be something that you know, bring it to Travis's
Yeah.
attention, or I'll make sure he knows.
Yeah.
And then whenever he calls you, you can discuss that.
All we're asking is if this spring, if you go out there and spray that whole damn thing, it looks like hell.
Reasonable request.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I don't guess Travis didn't have anything for us today, did he? And, you guys got anything for us today?
Just, If it pleases the board, the 3/4 ton GMC pickup truck has been delivered to Marion EMA. And the title is sitting on my desk. I'm meeting with William on Thursday for an unrelated matter, but we'll transfer the physical title then. Mr. Barkey's been in communication with the city's attorney. I'm not familiar with what their conversation is. I think he's working out the logistics on that part. So William will have the physical title in his possession on Thursday.
We've got an intergovernmental agreement that Wendy Cunningham and I have worked on. It's actually here today for your signature too.
Okay.
The board's already approved.
We've already approved the
So
sale,
it's just
so-
a matter of a formal doc. Then she'll need to do whatever she needs to do with the city, but
Sure.
she's aware of the location of the vehicle and everything.
Okay. So you're happy, EMA's happy, we're happy.
I believe so.
Okay, good. Alex, you got anything? Okay, highway department, he's not here. Old business, I have any old business?
I do actually.
Okay.
The casino license, has been distributed out amongst the commissioners. I did get some feedback, on that. The one question that needs to be, I guess flushed out is the bond requirement. Under your existing ordinance or resolution, it has a bond of $1,000 for all licenses, with the casino license being a considerably higher fee structure. I didn't know where the board wanted me to, or how you wanted to guide that. I have put in the most recent draft, a $5,000 bond requirement. Again, so just FYI, there's another draft for you guys to review. I've sent it independently, so that everybody can review and give feedback, but I'd like to get that onto the next agenda. So
I've got it listed for, we'll try and schedule a meeting for Tuesday of next week.
Can you explain the purpose of the bond?
So it's technically considered a penal bond, so that if there is a violation, you're allowed to get your fine from that bond if they don't pay. So in the instance of the other nightclub that we were dealing with, had she had a bond put into play when the fine was assessed and lack of payment occurred, we could go to the bond and the bond would turn that over to the county for full payment. So that's the purpose, is it's to hold that. I think in this situation, absent them completely going under, I don't think you're gonna have that problem, because you've got something that they need in order for successful operation.
But in looking at what our bond was for typical Class A, is $1,000, is that correct? Class A is 1,300, I think, or 1,350 for the license. Okay, so it's pretty much 90% of that license fee.
Yes,
So that's what I'm getting at, the relationship there.
but it's based upon what the violation fine would be. And so that's what you don't want to look so much at the license cost as much as you want to look at, if there was to be a violation of the Class N license, what would the fine that the board would assess to that be? Would it be $10,000 or $15,000?
Then
As
we
far
would
as the
have
fine,
found it that
Then
way.
you would want.
But at this point, the fine structure, as I read it, is the same as any other license, which is $100 a day if they lose their license, up to 7 days, and then revocation. So you're looking at only a $700.
No, I think you can go up to maximum 10,000. According to the way the license is, the statute is.
I guess I couldn't see a scenario how you could get to that number, the way it's written right now. If we need to change the way it's written to get a fine, change the fine structure. Certainly good to listen to that, but what we have written right now, I just had an issue getting to $10,000 in fine.
As did I, which is kind of, I threw kind of out in the middle there of a 5,000.
Which
just
is
the
where
cost.
we need to be.
So,
That will have that on the next agenda.
that's your, sorry.
Any other old business from the?
Just to bring something up for discussion here in my notes, what's our next step on the animal control building? Are we getting ready to take bids? Are we, again, I'm just asking so that we can get the ball rolling, because that's a ball that I think needs to roll.
Right
Absolutely.
now, that is, the money's in the budget to, and we mark that for hiring an architect, engineer. And that's probably something that we probably ought to get at.
I'd say we ought to go ahead and
It's-
bid out or work on.
It's in the budget, so we stipulated that for that, so I don't even know that we need to vote. That money's already in.
What I mean, how do you go about?
I guess my question is, how do we proceed at this point?
I think we need to interview architects.
So I think, do you want to put out an RFQ?
I think that's probably what we need to do to local architects.
Because you don't have a
We don't.
county hired architect.
No, we have no preference on that, other than we like to keep it Williamson County.
So I think that would be the next step, would be
Yeah,
put
right.
out a request for qualifications, indicating that you are wanting to interview architects.
Yes.
For the construction of this. And
You
then,
have something like that. run by us.
yeah, because then what they'll do is, once that's selected, then you figure out the scope of the project.
Yeah.
And then that would go out for bid to the general contractor, to determine budget line.
So we choose an architect engineer. And
It's just one, I think it's a good project. I just think we need to keep it moving and not let it kind of slip through the cracks.
No, and I guess at some point, as we're doing that, we'll need to discuss if we want to get storage out there also.
Okay, and so I guess let's let Brett.
Yeah, we'll have Brett draft up an RFQ.
Do you want any specific requirements on the RFQ, such as residency,
Yeah.
business being within the county or within Southern Illinois
I
or
don't know
within the
that we can
state?
actually
Or,
do that, can we?
well, since you're not a CDB project, you know, again, it depends upon the funding.
Yeah.
If the funding has specific parameters, so if it's federal funding, you can't limit it to the state. If it's CDB, then they have to be CDB qualified in order to bid. You know, so there's a variety of different things. So you guys have some leeway on that. I just don't know how much leeway you want to partake in. And then if you do want to put some limiters on there, then what is definition of office here versus, you know, because a lot of the architect firms will have an office in Chicago, Indianapolis, a
Yeah.
local office here, we'll have one in Nashville. Does that qualify? You know, so it really depends upon how you guys want this to go out.
I agree. So why don't we work with something, bring it back to the board
Okay.
and see if that works for these guys, and we'll say,
Okay.
sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
If I can go back to liquor license on section 19. Talking about the fines imposed should not exceed $1,000 for each violation. Each day the violation shall constitute a separate violation. Not more than $10,000 may be imposed against a license in any one license year. So that's in fines. So
Is that a state statute or is that
that's part of
our local?
ordinance. Section 15.
No, and I understand what you're saying, Jim. I just think that, again, you look at, doesn't matter how much the license fee is, because if what you read is accurate, that applies to somebody that has a 1350 license.
Mhm.
That applies to somebody that has a $15,000 license. So it really comes down to, what are you going to require from the fine element? You know, I wouldn't think that because they're a casino, you're going to fine them more. Now, they may have more violations, so then that would subject them to a higher retainage as far as a bond goes. But again, it's your guys' ordinance. I will draft it however.
Well, let me ask this,
So
I'm
is
kind
that-
of going with Tim's question, is, you know, I'm just for informational purposes only. Is that just a county ordinance or is that statute? set by the Illinois Liquor Commission,
For what?
the 10,000 max
The bond?
on fine. I didn't know if you knew that.
I don't know off the top of my head.
That's fine. All right, well, that's all. I just wanted to talk about that. So. Okay, so we'll have that.
But do we have any idea, my bonds, when I bought bonds in business, I had like performance bonds, those types of things to local entities sometimes. And those bonds never cost that much. They were usually anywhere from $1,000 to $25,000. So they never cost a whole lot. Brett, do you think there's a lot of difference between the cost of a $1,000 bond and the cost of $10,000? Have any idea? Because I really want this, I really want to get this thing passed. We really need this done as quickly as possible. And so it's going to be on the next agenda for us to vote on. And he's got $5,000 listed as the bond right now. Okay. Brett, is this something that if we see it being a problem, can we increase that in a future year? I would imagine we'd have to do it, not during the year, but at the end of the year. For the next
It would have to be upon renewal.
on renewal.
Yeah.
So if we see it being an issue, then we can increase it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think pretty much this whole document alter any.
I'm sure it can be, before
It is.
renewal, so that they knew the new parameters that's renewal.
Yeah.
So is there any way we can let him stay with the 5,000?
I'm okay with the 5. I'm not gonna stop it at 10 if you guys decide that's what it needs to do. I'm good with 5. I'm good with everything else the way it's written at this point.
and keep in mind, since we can't take votes officially
We
on
can't
it
take
today,
votes.
I will have the version of it in Word at the meeting, that if the motion is made to approve it with a $10,000 bond under that section, we'll make a modification and that's how it'll go. If you put it as 5, then it's a 5, what I mean? So you've got some flexibility in regards to that.
Okay, everybody good with that?
The only other thing I want to bring up is since you touched on it about the storage bill.
Yeah.
We did talk about that originally, animal control. Well, let's keep in mind too, that, the building over there, that maybe for sale just on the other side of the Ross Construction. The Ross Construction. I think might be able to take that. I haven't gotten in touch with not Daryl Ross.
Jerry.
But I do know he's contacted the PDC about it before, so there's a possibility there. And I know I'm driving by and just taking a look at it. It's got a loading dock. It's got.
Oh, it's a nice,
It's a nice facility. I don't know if it's climate controlled or not, but I do know it has a lot of big bays.
He's got an acre or two there too. There's a couple of.
Our equipment specifically would not require climate control.
Just an idea, just a thought.
Oh, yeah.
I need to explore that as well too.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't care, I'll reach out to them just to see
Sure.
where we need to go over and take a look.
It'd be nice to take a look.
Just take a look, just see. That's all I have.
You don't know if he's sticking in a sacrifice something.
I know nothing except for.
What you talk about, you brought up Jerry's name too, that might be something we want to look at, is doing the construction manager for the animal control facility for the side that there's also, so somebody like Jerry Oxford to handle the design, hiring the design, getting bids and overseeing construction. Any more old business? Moving on to new business. We have an intergovernmental agreement between Williamson County and the Village of Bush. This is something that we do often and every year. It's based on the population of the town and village. I have. That's it. There it is. Yeah. It is 241 population, $2.10 per person, for a total cost of $506.10. That's annually. Any questions, or comments?
No, I'd just like to make one change on that, just change the chairman name.
Oh, I saw that.
So can approve that contingent that, make that little modification.
Make that little modification, yeah.
Yeah.
Get your motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement between county and Bush.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Tim Anderson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Okay.
Jim Razor.
Yeah.
Next, we have a poker, raffle and poker run license application for DFW Post 1301. Red, I think you looked at that.
I did. I have some concern and wanted to address exactly how you guys wanted to handle these, and I apologize if when you've done them in the past is in this generalized form, but my concern was, generally when you're doing these licenses, you're doing them for specific events so that you're aware as a county as to when the event's happening. So if somebody calls in, a citizen says, hey, such and such is doing this, is it a sham or is it accurate? You've got to specify the event that you know is occurring. These licenses that are these permits that are being put forth today all seem to just say to be determined or not a specific date. And I don't know if that's the way the county has always done these in the past. Jim, you may know more about that, but my preference would be that they do it when they're doing them as opposed to,
They set a date in stone.
and that way you guys have an idea that it's a valid thing. It's not a valid thing. Again, I think that was the spirit of the reason for the permit. It wasn't a money grab as much as it was protection to the citizens, because most of these you guys waive anyway. So that's my only comment on this, is that it is a generalized, for the year I'm going to do raffles. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know that that was the intent of your guys' permit requests. But that
I'm
being
the new
said,
guy, so that's my exact same question. This looked like a blanket annual application rather than an event application, and I don't understand the spirit of the application. So I'll listen to any clarification.
Well, we've done a lot of these before that are very similar to this. It's the VFW. I get it. It's a Queen of Hearts raffle. It's tough to determine when the winner is, but I would like to think that, that might curtail it being such a blank document, is to say if they're going to start in March. No, that's when do it start? I would just say that give it a 1 year max, and that no other Queen of Hearts raffle can be started until this one is over. I would think that in 1 year.
Well, it appears to me, and I'm having to interpret here, but they're actually applying for 4 different, one of them being TBD, one being 50/50, one being a Queen of Hearts, and another being a gun raffle. It reads to me that there are 4 separate things going on here.
Right. You're correct. So let's just take that one at a time. Okay, well, I've said my piece about the Queen of Hearts. It's tough to determine when it's.
They can tell us when it's going to start. They could run on for a couple
Yeah.
of weeks.
Exactly. The gun raffle, that should be a start and finish. That should like any other raffle.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they're not doing more than one gun raffle.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is maybe contact them and get a little more specific on it. And same thing with the 50/50. I like that, like the gun raffle,
And I will tell you, I don't want to charge a VSW $1 more. It's just if we have definition of the events, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's just reach out to them.
We'll reach out to Gerald.
See if we can get a little more definition on it. But the spirit of the raffle or the raffle poker run license application is, like Brett said, to protect individuals that participate, be able to answer any questions that people have about it. Because on a blank document, for all we know, somebody could, just pull a winning ticket, whatever. It could be a sham involved. I'm not saying the veterans of VFW would do that at all, but you've got to lump this with everything in library. So you want to protect it this way. So you want to just.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Gerald Copeland and VFW about that. Let's table that. This one here may be the same. We have the raffle poker run for CC County.
Well, this one's different. And my issue with this one is these are fundraisers that are being proposed to benefit the VFW, the Elks, the Masonic Lodge, and the Knights of Columbus, et cetera. I think the people that are conducting those would be those listed, not the cattle company that's providing the quarter beef and a 10% profit on the sale of tickets. So I'm a little, again, this seems more like a marketing ploy than it did a raffle.
Yeah.
So but again, those are legal comments on it, so I will leave it to you guys, but I show nothing in the application that shows that the VFW, Elks, Masonic Lodge, Knights of Columbus are part of this, and the word et cetera at the end makes me think that maybe the communication has not gone to them yet, that's what's gonna happen.
Where they could have their own raffle on sides of beef or whatever.
They could.
The Elks would be.
Right. No, I mean, clearly we're dealing with the VFW on a raffle situation, and it's not mentioned in there that they're gonna do a side of beef or a quarter side of beef. So.
Well, and the proceeds, as I read it, are 10% of sold tickets, potential of $400. So maximum, we're only donating 10%.
CC
This license is only donating 10% of the sold tickets, and there's no guarantee that it'll even be the $400 if they don't sell enough tickets. It could be a minimal donation, in my opinion, compared to what the cost is.
Yeah.
So again, several questions.
This one I would recommend either contacting or bringing the individual in to
And that might
answer
be
some
the
questions about that.
Yes, we're going to table that also. Okay, that seems to be all the new business. Now for resolutions, we have sell to owners, and we have a bunch of them. Who would like to read sell to owners?
Did you want to answer this question?
One real quick question. Can these not be thrown in a consent agenda for future?
My opinion on this is that if we know that the written verbiage on these is accurate, and this was the published agenda out to the public, a motion accepting all resolutions as stated on the agenda would be appropriate, even without a consent agenda item. And then a second by somebody, a one vote, and all your resolutions that are listed are accurate and approved. So if you guys would like to go through every single one of them and cite them out, on the off chance that you're gonna catch a mistake, but my guess is
We're going to read it right off of this.
right. That's
So this is what we're reading.
correct. So if the motion would just state that I move to approve the resolutions as listed on the January 10th, 2023 agenda,
I don't have an issue with it, but there is one wrong item spotted.
So then somebody would need to make a motion to amend the agenda or hold that one back and correct it under the motion. So either way, you could do it without having to go through and read through 35 resolutions.
Yeah,
I've
so
already checked
what if
all
we
of
had more than
So
one,
just
this
this
is
one
all
needs to be amended.
for sale. So, what if we had another resolution that's totally different than this that we wanted to have discussion about?
You could pull any of these
And, oh, okay.
and have a
discuss it.
discussion about it. And then again, in your motion, accept out that one. So if all these are accurate except one, you would say,
Down,
I move to
Fourth from
approve
the
all
bottom.
resolutions
Most of
listed
one is
except with the
missing.
exception of sale to new owner Jerry Parker. That will get full
on
separate
the first
discussion.
page, fourth from
And
the.
you guys can make a
Should say
specific
021,
motion
022, and
on
023.
that
On that,
resolution.
and we can change the numbers.
But I think the short answer, Commissioner Rager, is that yes, you could put that onto a consent agenda, just as easy, yes.
Thank you.
But not today.
No, it's not on it, you've already gone through your consent agenda. But you can make it with one motion.
Yeah.
One motion for the whole thing.
Yes.
You want to know the resolution?
We can just make a motion to accept all resolutions as stated with the
With the
exception
exception of.
the ones that they're finding.
Okay.
Then
Let me see.
The last two numbers is 33 on the resolution.
It's right here.
38, 76, 34. What do you have?
It's got the
where did you see that at?
On
fourth from the bottom on the first page.
it's resolution number 2301-1033.
This has 21 on it.
Right.
Okay, 2301, 10.
Oh,
That's what.
Did you say that's
uh,
33,
He's saying,
that
you know,
last
it
number?
needs to be listed perfectly on
On the
there too.
resolution.
If you guys are gonna do a consent agenda, it needs to be listed on here correctly. Is that what I understood you to say?
But he can exempt that one.
Yep,
That
Right,
exception.
leave that one out.
And then he can take that, carry that exemption.
You make that motion.
So motion to accept all of the resolutions listed for sale to new owner as listed on the regular meeting agenda.
With the exception.
The exception of resolution 23-01-10-33 to be amended.
Second.
Tim Atkinson,
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Razor.
Yeah.
We do that one myself.
Yes. So motion to accept resolution 23-01-10-33.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yes.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Jim Razor.
Yay.
Okay. Having no ordinances, no committee and board appointments, no water board appointments. I do have ARPA. I have two bills, one from the Village of Pittsburgh Water District. Once again, this is ARPA funds were previously approved by this court. We're just simply paying the bill now. This one is for $21,600. We have another one for the Heron House of Hope. Once again, this one was already approved, allocated to ARPA. That amount is $3,060.75. All we need to do is sign those. They've already been, everybody's already been approved.
Correct.
Okay, we talked about the casino license and other business. We talked about the casino license. That's going to be on the next agenda. We need to, on the next agenda, I think you guys will send the mayor IT contract to review for the next meeting. I'd like to discuss that and get that contract approved. That will be on Tuesday's meeting. An update on the energy transition grants. These are grants that are coming because of closure, partial closure of coal-fired energy plants, or coal mines, or anything else. Ours is SIPC down at the Lake of Egypt. I have gotten applicant or support requests from the City of Marion, Marion Park District, and John D. Logan. I've signed all of those. Those things cost the county nothing. But they have to have our signature so that they can apply for these grants. These grants are going to be somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. At some point, because of the nature of the grant, we'll have to have a discussion about how we're going to spend that money. If we're going to be involved with John Mary applicants for a regional type project. We don't know. But at some point, we'll have that discussion as to what we want to do. But those are the three that I have. I've also asked Greater Egypt to fill out our grant application. That is in the process. It's probably ready to sign. I'll have a meeting with Greater Egypt tonight. So I'll have more information for you guys in the next week. You guys got any questions about that?
You originally came up that was 50,000 was my memory.
So I'm hearing some things. 50,000 seems to be the base. 100,000 or more may be possible on this grant. This grant will have at least two phases for us. We're more than likely, since we are, quote, the gatekeeper, everybody has to send their application through us that was affected by SIPC. So we have to sponsor that or support those applications. That doesn't mean that they're going to be approved, but they just have to come through us. More people, the more entities that apply, the less the grant is going to be. I think 50,000 is a base. The second round of this is going to deal with jobs that were lost and the impact of those lost jobs on the local economy. So a lot of this seems to be economic development type issues. So that's about all that I know of right now. So we're not done. This is the first step. I have no idea when they might come in. They've got the money. It was brought to my attention that there's a potential for other grants that are coming through replacement energy. And it's got a name. I'm sorry, I should have wrote it down. I heard it. It was on a phone call. Didn't write it down, but I will keep you guys posted on that. Sound good? All right. So I've updated you guys on energy transition. Marion Network's going to be on the next agenda. Casino license will be on the next agenda. I'd like to set a meeting for Tuesday, the 17th, in the morning. You guys, are you both free on that? Okay. Yeah, I have that meeting. I've got it for 12. Was it?
I've got them for
Okay.
get clarification on that.
I will. I'll get clarification on that. Would you guys be willing to meet at 9 o'clock on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will, I'm going to ask Kim to come to that meeting and so that we can talk about some budget issues. And Brett, budgeting is on our agenda every meeting. Do we need to have a special line item for that? Or we good to have that?
If you're gonna be making, I think, specific transfers, you probably would want to have a more specific if possible.
Okay.
So that way the public's aware that.
Right, so we can discuss on that. Okay. You guys got anything else for that next meeting? That we know about?
How hard do you want to move on billboards and signage? I mean, a version of that came up again today.
Yes,
I have started work on this. There are times I get fired up and then I hear things and I slow down. You guys tell me how hard you want to move on, or do you want to move on restricting, controlling billboards and signage in county?
go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna say, I get the problem, and I would really be in favor of looking at what we can do. The problem is the enforcement.
That's my, I don't know. Who are you going to hand it off to?
Exactly. So,
And that is the problem with zoning and everything else.
Is-
We can impose zoning, but then who's going to handle it?
Right.
because the city does have a zoning, person.
And I'm working from Marion's document.
Yeah, so there's a little different.
We have no enforcement arm. We can write down anything we want, and who's going to go do anything
That's
about it?
just it, yeah, that's where.
So
it's just
it comes back to a zoning bigger discussion.
That requires either another salary or something,
Whole department,
basically.
a whole entire department.
So
Because,
if we
well,
want to talk
zoning,
about it maybe for like next year, in next year's budget. You know, something like that. But once again, is that gonna be enough to keep somebody busy? And then, or is that the key way into zoning, you know?
at some point,
I'm with you on this right now, you know?
as distasteful as it might be, at some point, this board, at some point in the future, is going to have to deal with zoning.
I get
This
it,
county,
you know,
this county's going from more agricultural to a different type of economy in this county.
I told you guys, you hit the nail on the head. Well, they will say, you know, I want this, I want that, but don't tell me how to run my place.
We've all had that person come to our office,
I-
yes.
I've told you the story before, but I'll say it one more time where I went to make the office for got people there usually every morning. And I asked these guys, I said, well, what about, you know, are you in favor of light zoning? And we do have light zoning right now. You can't say we don't. There's bi-county regulations on septics, you know, and other little, building permits and stuff like that.
I think those things are handled through state statute. I think they're maybe enforcing that, some of that.
Well, building permits, we just put in place. You know,
Right,
right,
requiring a building
Yeah.
permit so that we're not building in flood zones.
but, you know, the
And
guy told me that, you know, he's not in favor of zoning. And I said, well, what if somebody puts a shooting range right there on their property? It's a berm facing your house. The guy goes, still not in favor of it. But he'd be the first person to call
Yeah,
that would say, you know, hey, somebody's shooting
yeah,
right towards my house.
And at some point, we have to look at 67,000 people.
Yeah.
And how many are still rural county? And as those percentages are changing, we've got to protect the multitude of the 67,000.
Absolutely. And, you know,
and I mean, I agree completely with that statement.
the only thing that doesn't change is change itself, you know? And so with that, you may have owned a parcel of ground where you used to target shoot all the time. And I'm just using shooting as an example, because sometimes it seems like that's a lot of points. But all of a sudden, you've got subdivisions being built up around your parcel now, you know? And it changes over time. And I remember Jeff telling us one time, that Williamson County had over 40 new subdivisions, you know, in 1 year. And so Williamson County is a growing county, and things are changing. And unfortunately, we may have to change with the times. I don't know, you know.
Well, we've had to change, or we're going to be drug into it against strong will without much choice.
Here again, you gotta look at the enforcement.
Keep in mind, though, that, so the solar ordinance is a prime example.
I was going to bring
You
that up.
guys, you guys really have already started down that road of
Yeah.
of zonings and setbacks and those types of things. But keep in mind that whatever you do today is only going to affect the future growth. It's not going to affect those people that exist now. So if you put in, you know, this gentleman's problem with the corner and the setbacks and everything else, until that building is destroyed, or unless they improve it by more than 50%, it's grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So the the time frame that you're looking at to impact change is far greater down the road. Even if you implemented something today, you're not going to affect that person that comes into your office and says, by golly, I don't want you to tell me to do it in the house. But it will impact the new neighbor that comes in that now doesn't appreciate the way the Lake of Egypt has always been ran and set back and everybody gets along. Now there's rules, to prevent that person from building over or from doing those things. Usually the people that are complaining are those that have already taken the liberty to grab a little bit more than what they probably should.
Yeah.
So, just keep that in mind as well, that it's, even when you start to implement, it's going to be a period of time before it actually affects a lot of the population.
Does anybody have anything else? All right, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Roll call, please.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe. Jim Razor.
Thank you, gentlemen.